What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripe Show. They swept the Phillies on the road, best team in the NL. That's a huge sweep. We didn't do a deadline recap because there wasn't much to recap for the Yankees. That doesn't mean it was a bad week. Obviously, they just, like I said, swept the Phillies. But deadline specifically, we didn't feel that Mark Leiter Jr. warranted an emergency Tuesday night podcast.
Well, we had already spoken about Jazz, who was all the
Sure.
rage, and I'm like, I don't even know how you can't be full in on Jazz Chisholm at this point, because he's pretty much just electrified this team and done anything. The fact that he moves over to third base and just plays it well is
Can I ask you a quick question about Jazz? Is he still wearing his Miami Marlins belt?
He did when he first came over. I don't know.
Because he had a neon green belt on, even in the Phillies series.
That's
and I'm
fine.
like,
I don't give a shit what belt he wears.
It just caught my eye because the Yankees have just, matte blue belts, and so you don't notice them usually. And then I was like, oh, that's a neon green belt on a Yankees uniform. Maybe it's a good luck belt or something.
Yeah. You know what? He can wear whatever he wants at this point right now. I mean, we're in the honeymoon stage. I get it. And everything is roses and just beautiful. And they've won 5 of 6. When you're looking at this road trip that could have been very different. And I think walking into this road trip, you're thinking about going on the road to Fenway, then to Philly with one of the best teams in baseball. It could have been not great. And you know what? What did we call it? When did we call that turnaround? We said something about a turnaround.
I asked you if the Saturday game, which they kind of stole back from the Red Sox on Saturday night, was going to be the turnaround. And we were like, maybe. It could be. If they go lose 2 out of 3 in Philly, then no. But they swept Philly.
They didn't. Yeah, he swept Philly, which, thankfully I think we caught Philly at the right time as well. Bryce Harper.
Yeah, they came in struggling.
One forever. One for 30 or something along those lines, and just was not an impact at all on the series. So that was a big deal. But yeah, man, like this was a really good series. The fact that they went on the road and beat some good pitchers too. It's not like they were going up against some of the back of the rotation of the Phillies. They came in and
Wheeler, Nola,
they beat their best. So yeah, I'm highly encouraged by what I saw.
You know who's a dude on the Phillies that I still love is Schwarber. I just like that dude, and I would love just. I know we back in what was it, 2016, 2017, we dreamed
17.
of.
It was after it was after there was all these rumors, and it was like a straight up trade. I remember, if I remember correctly, it was like Schwarber for Gary for Sanchez. It was one of those. It was like he was in the mix for that, and everybody were like, nah.
But Schwarber, I mean, he's just been doing his damn thing for a while. Hitting leadoff, not the prototypical leadoff hitter. Just love that kind of player in a lineup. But that's neither here nor there. The sweep. It's a great sweep on the road, despite the fact that Philly was struggling coming in, because they did catch both Boston and Philly at a good time on this road trip. And now I think they can exhale a bit. They got through the tough part of the remaining schedule in July, and like they're playing some easier teams coming up in August. And now the Yankees are playing better as well. It's not just that they're playing easier teams. It's also like they are playing better. They got some life injected into the team with Chisholm and Leiter. Even if you say, oh, well, that's not enough at the deadline for the bullpen. Like, okay, those are 2 new faces in the clubhouse that can also, David Cohn's talked about this a lot in the past, where even if the move isn't on paper the most significant, when you add new faces into a team that's competing for the playoffs, it re-energizes things.
Yeah.
Whereas if the deadline comes and goes and there's like no impact pieces, there's no pieces that you're even saying like, oh, this guy is going to get high leverage innings for us, or he's going to get meaningful at bats for us, then the team kind of has like a little bit of a letdown. And then with Chisholm and Leiter, like at least you can say, well, those are 2 pieces that we could see making an impact in big spots.
Yeah, for sure. And Leiter, it's all about his underlying numbers and the strikeout ability that he has. And he got a big strikeout the other night. He came in, pitched immediately. He got to the ballpark fast. Like they made the trade for him, and then all of a sudden he was up in the bullpen. I was impressed by the how quickly he got there and was.
He just had to
was ready
shave,
play.
and then he was out there in the bullpen.
Yeah. Tom's River kid, obviously, part of the Leiter family, the nephew of Al. So look, I think that how do you want to do this? Do you want to talk about some of these moves? Do you want to talk about your feeling after the deadline? Because I feel like our opinions and our feeling is, I have a feeling that I can talk about.
You got a feeling, and you need more cowbell?
Yeah. As a fan, when I see what happened, and I think all of us at this point would be hard pressed not to be swayed by what Jazz Chisholm has already done and did by Tuesday night, because I think that does affect the way that we're thinking right now. It does. It just chemically, like, our brain can't get past that. And when you have a new guy that's got this big personality, who is just like a smile that lights up the room, that is willing to do anything on the baseball field, and then comes out and has this, like, look, I had not seen Jazz Chisholm play very much at all. So a lot of this is new to me in my eyes watching him play. And this dude just has an effortless swing. And the fact that he takes his hand off the bat and just does it. I've been trying to place who it is, someone from like the 90s that he reminds me of, and I can't place it. But
you're talking about with his swing specifically?
His swing. Yeah, where he lets go of the bat. There's someone that's like burned in my brain right now that I cannot place. That's driving me a little insane.
Is it the crime dog, Fred McGriff?
No, I heard that comparison. I don't think that's it. There was somebody else, but anyway,
still one of the best baseball nicknames of all time, the crime
dog. Yeah, but so here's my thoughts. I think one, I didn't know Jazz could just move over and play third like he is. Like, that's amazing. And that kind of hits the flexibility that I was talking about with Rendifo. That was kind of what I was looking at. That's where you and I varied, I think, is like what that flexibility was. And the fact that Jazz Chisholm comes in, can play second base, can play the outfield, and can play third base. We saw it happen. He played third base, and he did it just fine. Mm-hmm. In fact, he made a play that he didn't make was probably the most eye-popping one to me, was when he went away from his body, towards the line, towards the bag, and got a glove on a ball that he had no business getting a glove on. So just like his instincts, his first step is really strong. The guy's a ball player, no doubt about it. And he's
incredibly athletic. Obviously,
yes,
to be able to play center field and second base, you obviously have to be incredibly athletic. And so that athleticism is definitely playing at third base, even if it's going to take him a little bit more time to feel fully comfortable there. But the fact that
he doesn't look uncomfortable. Uncomfortable.
The fact that he's just seemingly has the attitude of, yeah, put me at third base. Yeah. I want to be on a competing team. I want to be on the Yankees. Just put me at third base.
Yep.
The difference in mentality between that and Gleyber Torres being like, no, I'm a second baseman, it's just so night and day, and it's just so refreshing, and it's why I love a player like Jazz Chisholm and why I hate a player like Gleyber Torres.
Yeah. So the obvious need that we all identified, pretty much everybody that's a Yankees fan identified, was the bullpen. The bullpen needed to be addressed, and they addressed it in certain areas. Obviously, Leiter, they got who they believe will put up good numbers, gives them the swing and miss. I don't disagree. I think it's a good option out there right now. And then they made a couple other smaller moves that felt like some of the moves that they've been making throughout the year, just via trade rather than free agency or people DFAing and then all of a sudden them coming up and giving cash considerations. Kind of felt like some of those moves.
So the Leiter trade is one that you knew they would make at the deadline, because they've made this in the past, where you look at the traditional baseball numbers for Leiter and you're like, career 4.53 ERA, like nothing is popping off the screen.
He's not a young guy. He's 33 years old, so he's got a sample size.
But his FIP this year is much better than his actual ERA. And then you look at his expected numbers, expected ERA in the 97th percentile, expected batting average in the 95th percentile. There's a ton of, just Google Mark Leiter StatCast and go to his Baseball Savant page and you'll see what I'm talking about. And this is the type of player that you knew the Yankees would target at the deadline to get value out of in their bullpen. So from that standpoint, I like the move. But I would have liked to see also a move, an additional bullpen move where you look at the regular numbers and you say, yeah, that makes sense. Like, this guy's pitched in high leverage spots for another team and has gotten big outs. And so could Leiter turn into that? Sure. Could some of the other guys, Efros, come back from injury and also help add bullpen depth? Absolutely, but it still felt underwhelming that Leiter Jr. was the move in the bullpen at the deadline when you and I have been saying they need 3 relief pitchers since like April 20th.
Yeah, 100%. That's my feeling, is that they needed to add more to the bullpen. The bullpen is still unstable, in my opinion. And I understand, listening to what Cashman has said, how he likes the team, how he likes the roster construction.
What's he going to say at this point? The deadline is coming. He's not going to be like, no, good luck. We're crossing our fingers out there.
That said, like, the price for some of these relievers that aren't like fully, there was no, Urseg was maybe the most dominant reliever that was dealt, or the guy from the Angels that went to Philly, possibly those guys, but the price on their heads was large, very large. And I understand Urseg, who's a guy I wanted to get, is controlled for a very long time. That would have been one to pay for. But again, like, you look at his career numbers too, and we know that some of these bullpen guys can be flash in the pans, and then all of a sudden they're not the same guy the next year. I mean, there's multiple, opportunities to look at examples of that. And so one of the things that we talked about was that I didn't think that the Yankees had it's not the depth, but the high prospects, that they were the middle of the prospect, not number 1 and 2 with Dominguez and Spencer Jones. You go past that, and it's just not all that impressive. And I think that is what put them in a spot to, one, not be able to compete for some of these guys, because I think there were better packages being offered, which was part of my concern going into this. I didn't think they had a ton, and I didn't think they were going to add a lot of dollars to this. They had to do it with prospects, and it was just a matter of being competitive. And I don't think in some cases they were competitive, to be honest.
We just talked last episode about the Chisholm trade. So Augustin Ramirez was the 3 prospect at the midseason deadline for the Yankees, right?
Yes.
Didn't he get bumped up?
He had moved up to number 3 from Baseball America,
right?
And I think Pipeline had him at 20.
Okay, but so you look at
he was probably but
MLB Pipeline had him at 20. MLB Pipelines was a preseason ranking.
Season. Correct.
So I'm sure MLB Pipeline would have ranked him, maybe if it's not 3 top 5 in the Yankee system. Okay,
sure.
So he then is a guy that was the next in line after Dominguez and Jones that
they traded him.
Right.
But I'm for a position player.
No, I'm agreeing with you. So it's like, okay, you trade him away for Chisholm. Mm-hmm. Now what's left to go get a reliever? Then what's left? It's
Will
like there's
Warren.
not right. There's not a whole.
You're looking at guys like Will Warren and some of the infield prospects that they have. Some of the recent draft picks, George Lombard that could have been dealt. But again, like, the value there, I don't know. So I think that's where there was probably some issues, and there just weren't a ton of dominant guys that were dealt at the end of the day. So I think it's underwhelming. If we gave it a grade, I would again, like, the Jazz Chisholm thing just is already infected my brain with how I feel about it. So, but I think it's like a B.
No.
I was going to say
no way.
C.
There's no way this is a B
with Chisholm. If I have to isolate Chisholm, but on the pitching side, I think it was a C- of addressing the pitching.
The Chisholm trade seems like it's great, and he seems like after 5 games seems like a great fit in this lineup, and so the Chisholm trade you can call an A, but the biggest need all season has been bullpen, and they didn't address that, barring one guy. I'm sorry, that's an F.
That's what I'm saying. So
you
have to almost
the pitching side is an F.
I'm separating them because they did look. Leiter was one of the top strikeout guys that was on the market. That was one of the things that we were asking for. Get a strikeout guy. You need a guy to be able to put somebody away. We saw it again with Clay Holmes, where he prolonged the game.
He's
to go
just getting unlucky. Brian Cashman thinks he's just getting unlucky.
Well, some of it is unlucky because some of those were a lot of slow ground balls that were unfortunately not fielded.
But do you know what a contact pitcher
he does
brings
that?
in?
I understand that. He also induced
brings
a double
in bad
play.
luck into the game.
I know he does, but he also induced a double play to get out of and save the game yesterday. So it goes both ways. So I agree. I think it's going to be every single time he comes in, it's going to be an adventure. It is. That's what we're going to be dealing with, and unfortunately, they're going to make contact. And unless
Not
he's,
just Clay Holmes. I think anytime the Yankees have a narrow lead in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings, you're going to be holding your breath for an hour as they try and navigate those 9 outs.
Yep.
No matter who comes into the game. Clay Holmes, Weaver, Leiter, when Efros comes up,
infield
Tommy
defense
Kahnle.
is going to be highlighted big time towards the end of the year.
I don't feel good about any of those guys getting 3 outs in a 1-run game. Clearly they're doing it in some spots, but like it's kind of a coin flip in a lot of cases. I mean, even you saw this series against the Phillies, they ended up winning all the games, but they blew the game.
The other thing that is addition by subtraction, Turd Ferguson no longer on the team. However, Turd Ferguson, now Caleb Ferguson in the Houston bullpen, scares me a little bit because he's probably going to come in and pitch well against the Yankees. Why did they have to deal him to Houston for that thing to come back and bite us in the ass later in an ALCS? Because you know damn well it's going to.
Yeah, I said 10 scoreless appearances in the playoffs for Houston confirmed for Caleb Ferguson.
Yeah, it's probably not going to happen because he's not a good pitcher at the end of the day. So I don't have to watch him pitch anymore, which I'm happy
I think
about.
They have voodoo magic in Houston or something. They just
They
sprinkle some dust on someone, and all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, I'm going to get 3 outs in the 9th inning of Game 4 of the ALCS."
Yeah, it's called cheating. They sprinkle some cheating dust on him,
Okay.
but they
whatever it is, it's effective.
So yes, and then you look into you look in the minor leagues right now, or guys that are coming back, and I know this is the answer that everybody absolutely hates, and I agree with you. But if you look at who is there, Ian Hamilton, Nick Birdie, Lou Trevino, who I just can't believe I'm even saying his name anymore, and Scott Efros, and then obviously we have Clark Schmidt coming back and Cody Petit, who was stretched out, but can be a bullpen option. But you're looking at those names. Who do you believe that could come back and be effective potentially? Because we've seen it before. Ian Hamilton, maybe. Scott Efros is a guy that was.
He hasn't pitched in a long time.
I don't even know what he does anymore, to be honest. He's been on the shelf for so long.
Yeah.
He's been just like a figment of everybody's imagination.
So he was from years ago. 2022. So he had Tommy John, and then he had a back issue, right? So he's coming back from Tommy John and I believe back surgery.
Yeah, cool. So who knows what the hell he can be at this point. He's a name at least, but they do have some names that are in the minor leagues right now. And this is what they're going to do. They're going to play trial and error with these guys. They're going to send people down and send people up. And whoever sticks, they're going to throw some mud at the wall and see who actually sticks. And we'll see if it's one of the names that we recognized. Ian Hamilton wouldn't surprise me if he came in, and because he had some really, really, really good stretches last year so we've seen him be able to do it. We've seen him be able to get the strikeout. We've seen him be able to pitch in high leverage situations. So, hopefully he's a guy that can refine his form and be an effective guy there. So
I want to look at some of these Cashman quotes, but first, if you have ever wanted to speak a new language, then I highly recommend Babbel is the best way to do it. With Babbel, you can start speaking a new language in as little as 3 weeks. Babbel is great because their convenient courses can fit into your hectic schedule. Lessons are just 10 minutes long, and they are handcrafted by over 200 language experts to help you start speaking a new language. Babbel is designed by real people for real conversations. You should not be paying hundreds of dollars for private tutors or waste hours on apps that just claim they can help you learn a new language. Babbel's tips and tools are approachable, accessible, and rooted in real-life situations and delivered with conversation-based teaching, so you are ready to practice what you've learned in the real world. If you've got a trip coming up to another country, maybe check out Babbel. Babbel has over 16 million subscriptions sold, plus all of Babbel's 14 award-winning language courses are backed by their 20-day money-back guarantee, so you can try it out for nearly 3 weeks, and if you don't like it, you can get your money back. And also, our listeners have a special limited time deal right now. Get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription at babbel.com/Bronx. That is 60% off. That's an awesome deal at babbel.com/Bronx. That is spelled Babbel. Rules and restrictions may apply. So the quote that I want to discuss from Cat was a couple. He said, "I like what we had before we made the moves, and we've improved since these moves. I think we have a really good team already, and it will get better over the course of time when guys come back from the IL." I hate the leaning on the guys returning from IL as like here's a carrot in the sky. Here's something else to distract you from the fact that we didn't make more moves. It's like we've got acquisitions coming activating them off of the IL. I have always hated that mentality, and I just don't like that that is the narrative that he's pushing. And then he also said, I would have brought Jack Flaherty in if I could have matched up. He said, and I had difficulty matching up. That's the reason I don't have him. Simple as that. So that's a pretty firm statement. Like, that's the reason I don't have him. That's him basically saying I was targeting Jack Flaherty and we couldn't get him. And when
no, he's saying I had the ability to get him. If I were to go to what they were asking for, he would be on this team, but I decided not to do that. That's what it sounded like to me.
Okay.
It sounded like he was in the position to land Jack Flaherty, and Cashman made the choice not to.
Do you think, rewind 48 hours and it's deadline day, Cashman, you believe Cashman in his front office said we need another arm?
I think that they were looking at what was available. I don't know. I'm sure they said they need another arm. Yeah, of course. Any team needs another arm, and Jack Flaherty was a clear rental. That was
I just think in a season like this where you've got Soto on this 1-year contract, take out the fact that we all want to sign him for future. Like, this might be the only year of Soto, and you've still got Judge in his prime, and you've got Cole. You know, theoretically, it's just a stomach virus, and he's fine and gonna be like, this is a win. Almost a win-at-all-cost season for the Yankees. So when you hear your general manager talk about how, well, you know, we didn't like the value on this, and we could have had this guy if we could have matched the price, and we've got guys coming back from the IL, it makes you think, well, are you doing everything you can to win this season?
So I think I need more information, though, to make a judgment on that specific trade. I would need to know who was the person that needed to go, that he was unwilling to be
I'm
dealt.
sure we could figure that out.
Okay, call him Spencer Jones. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Would you deal Spencer Jones for Jack Flaherty, who has had a couple injections this year, a very checkered injury history, has been good, but definitely has been an injury guy. To come in with also understanding that you already got burned by this exact move with Frankie Montas a couple years ago.
I would not trade Spencer Jones for Jack Flaherty, but I would have definitely traded Spencer Jones for a different piece that maybe you have under contract for more than just 2 months. Whether that's in an Ursig trade, in a different trade, I don't know what that is. Like, this is a made up scenario, right? Like, all I'm saying is I hope Spencer Jones was not untouchable at the deadline for the Yankees.
Yeah, I don't know. But if we're talking specifically about Flaherty and the fact that Flaherty did get dealt, and you mentioned the cost for him was Trey Sweeney from the Dodgers and another higher prospect.
Kind of is a twist knife into the chest, because the Yankees traded Trey Sweeney away they got back Victor Gonzalez, right, from the Dodgers. Wasn't that
was Caleb Ferguson in that deal too?
Was that a separate deal? I think that might have been a separate thing.
Yeah,
it was the one with Victor
Vivas.
Gonzalez and Vivas.
Yeah. And so Victor Gonzalez is not on this team anymore, and Trey Sweeney is getting dealt for Jack. It's just like, you connect. It's like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon that you're connecting the dots there, and you hear your general manager saying, I could have had him, and then it's like the prospect that was in your system not too long ago.
Jack Flaherty has been very up and down in his career. I know he's having a good year, but he is a guy that I do not trust either. So again, I would need to know who was that linchpin guy that was the yes or no guy to that deal, and if it was Spencer Jones, or was it Will Warren? Was it? So Will Warren?
Are you saying if it wasn't, would you be mad if it wasn't Spencer Jones? If it was someone else in the system and the Yankees barked at it, are you upset at that point?
I think it's worth a gamble if it's not one of the top guys. Yeah, for sure. I do.
Well, I don't think Jason Dominguez is even on the table. So
no, Dominguez or Spencer Jones wouldn't be. Maybe it was Will Warren, because that could line up to what you're getting as far as like a young controlled guy. And that one's tough. I mean, again, just the injury history, and I don't know what they found out also based on what Jack Flaherty's injury risk is, if it's heightened even more. I saw the reports that he's gotten a couple injections. He's not fully healthy right now. So it doesn't feel good getting a guy that's not healthy, to be honest, and paying something for
I
him.
agree. I agree. You brought up the Montes
And we would
thing.
shit all over that
Absolutely.
move if he came over for a top guy and we didn't see him pitch to the ability that he had been pitching for earlier in the year because he's injured. We would have
I'm not
gotten all over that.
I'm not sitting here saying they should have given up anything for Jack Flaherty. It's not Jack Flaherty. It's another arm. Fill in the blank arm they seemingly wanted and didn't get.
Yeah, Ursig would be the only guy that I think, frankly, there just weren't a lot of dominant guys that were dealt.
Well, this Tanner Scott trade to
Tanner Scott,
where to go? San
but it was
Diego.
a high price.
No, it was. So the Marlins back from the Padres ended up getting the Padres number 2 prospect in their system, who's number 44 overall in Major League Baseball. What is Spencer Jones ranked in Major League Baseball? I don't. He's not 44, right?
Is 44 Pipeline or Baseball America? What are you looking at?
I'm not sure where this is pulled
It's
from.
probably
but-
Pipeline. So check out the Pipeline numbers, which are
a top 50 Major League Baseball prospect. In addition to that, they also got the number 4, number 5, and number 24 prospects in the Padres system. They got 4 prospects, one of which is a top 50 overall, top 100 prospect for a reliever.
Spencer Jones is the 72nd prospect in MLB Pipeline. Jason Dominguez is 25.
Okay, what's the difference between the 44th overall and the 77th overall prospect? I don't know. Or
the 44th and the 25th.
Right, there are 2 scouts liking a guy over someone else, right? So I understand the margin on that is so slim. The point is, it would have taken Spencer Jones for a rental relief pitcher, plus 2 or 3 other guys in your system.
Yeah.
But again, I come back to Spencer Jones should not have been untouchable. So ultimately, if they were sitting there saying another arm is going to make or break our season this year, they should have been willing to trade Spencer Jones. If they're sitting there saying another arm would be nice, then okay, I get it.
I think that's where they are.
If it's would have been nice, then they're really banking on Efros or someone else coming back and adding to that bullpen, because I know damn well, I am fully confident in this statement. The current bullpen is not going to be good enough to win a championship.
The other piece here who we know is coming back. They do. I know nobody wants to hear this, but there are a lot of dudes that are coming back. So you do run into some roster situations at some point. And Clark Schmidt is coming back. Clark Schmidt's having had a really good year. Understand that he's coming back from injury. We need to see what he is, but for the most part, you can kind of bank on him not being fully stretched out, depending on when he comes back.
So you're sticking him in the pen?
He very well might be a bullpen guy. Yes. And if that's the case, you're then comparing what you currently have, and you understand that Clark Schmidt's coming back. Is it enough?
Is Clark Schmidt a late inning strikeout bullpen guy? No. What's up, Logan?
They're not. I don't think that they're even. I think they could do that with Clark Schmidt, but I think their plan, reading the tea leaves, is that they're going to put Nestor in the bullpen because they don't have lefties.
Yeah,
right?
that's
and then Nestor could be there too. So you're looking at Nestor,
right.
Nestor Cortez in the bullpen. Again, roster spots here because there are only a certain amount. What's the move? Like you have to get rid of people to do that. So
what was with the Nestor being traded rumors? Why was that like even coming up?
Because if you're going to add another starting pitcher, then you have a roster situation here where you're able to.
Who's trading for Nestor? Who's trading for Nestor Cortez?
I don't know. He's part of a package.
I mean, he would have gotten something. Look at the people who got stuff.
You know I guess because he's controlled, right?
He's controlled. He's a lefty. He's had success. I mean, there's a team that would have wanted him, and they would have got value for him.
Okay.
So, Jordan Montgomery all over again. That's exactly what that is.
No, but Jordan Montgomery
was trying to be.
Oh, because Jordan Montgomery did have a season.
He had a year and a half.
Yeah.
It would have been a similar trade. It would have been, let's go get a year and a half of this third baseman, and
Well, I mean, do you agree though that you're not satisfied with the bullpen moves, with the
100%,
with the pitching moves in general?
Yes, I'm not. Yes, I don't have a ton more confidence. Maybe that will change in a week or two once we see more of Mark Leiter. You know, if he's this guy that can come in and shut down the 8th inning and be that guy, then fantastic. Then, you know, I think that is a huge improvement, because then they have at least, you know, some stability back there. And it didn't look like they were in the market for a closer, frankly. Like, that Clay Holmes is the guy. I don't think they weren't going to pay for what a closer would cost. And the only, you know, there were a couple closers that were dealt, but it was a high price that they were going to have to pay. And I don't even know if they had the capital to pay for those guys. Even with Spencer Jones, looking at some of these numbers, the 44th guy, and Spencer Jones is at 70, 72 or whatever we said. Like, that's a decent disparate. Like, that's a different, that's 30
it
spots.
then just no, but at that point it just comes down to what is the other team like, what player does the other team like better, and then.
But if you're looking at just pure rankings, our number one guy that we were going to potentially give up was at the 77 spot or 75 spot, whatever. That's not overly competitive with everybody else, especially when you start including more package pieces.
And we've seen how Cashman has gone about this stuff in the past, where he looks at every deal in a vacuum, and he's not going to say, well, this is a win at all cost year, so I'm willing to trade this guy. He's going to say, what is the value of this player? What is the value of this deal? Is this a good deal or a bad deal? And if it's a bad deal, he's not going to make the deal, even if it's quote unquote a win year. Every year should be a win year, right? So then he's probably saying, well, every year is a win year for the Yankees. Why am I going to do that? I can't do that every year. And that's the right call as a general manager looking at the 10-year picture. But I remember talking about this with Martino. There need to be go for it moments. There need to be step on the gas moments.
Yeah. And look, again, the Jazz Chisholm move is what they gave up.
That seems like it's not just a move for this year.
I like Ramirez, probably one of the guys that I had been talking about him since May. And, you know, he's a guy that has turned a lot of heads in the minor league system. So they sold high on him, no doubt about it. They sold high on him. Like, he's a guy that has been making a lot of progress and impressing a lot of people in the Yankees minor league system. So I credit them for that. Like, he wasn't a guy that was totally, he was the 20th prospect in the Yankee system coming into the year. He had a great year. They sold on top. They, you know, whether he's going to be a player or not, who knows? But it was a good, it was a good move. It was I think the value, what they got with Chisholm, now the fact that he's going to be on this team for a couple more years, and it's not just the player, man, that on the field, like, and I'm definitely starting to realize he brings an infusion of excitement. He brings an infusion of just like positivity to this team, which I think is one of those things it's an intangible that you can't find on a Fangraphs page or a Baseball Reference Excel spreadsheet. Like, there's an intangible piece with this guy, and I think that's a big deal, especially when you're coming in the middle of a season. Like you said, like, there's a catalyst here. And the fact that he's willing to do anything and play anywhere, you got to love that. So that's a big move.
Well, do you know what is a tangible? His athleticism. Because
sure.
this team is not athletic.
No, you add him to that. You put him down in the, again, that 5, 6, 7 spot, 8, 9 with Volpe in there. You got two guys that are very athletic that can do things on the base path that should have a lot more free reign in that section of the lineup to cause some mayhem on the base path. And yeah, that could come in very big, especially now you're adding. Think about an extra inning guy, right? You have a guy starting out on second base. You have a much higher percentage now that guy's super athletic with Volpe and Chisholm potentially starting out at second base, or, you know, being able to run out. I heard a stat yesterday when I was listening, because I was driving all day and I was listening to the broadcast. By the way, Ricky Ricardo should be the next voice of the play-by-play guy with Susan. It just fits, you know, it feels like such a nice little transition from Sterling. He's very good. He's got that really just like perfect prototypical radio voice that's not forced, but like it has its own thing. So I really enjoy listening to him, and he and Susan obviously have a very good rapport. But Jazz, what the hell was I just saying?
You heard a stat?
Oh, a stat, yes. Yeah. So he hit a 51% ground balls on the season, I think, and he has not grounded into a double play.
Wait, so he has hit 51 ground balls or
51%. He was actually hitting a lot more ground balls with Miami, with his at bats, and had not grounded into a double play.
Well, you know why that is?
Because he's fast.
Because Miami can't get anyone on base.
Okay, that's probably a little part of it, but the fact that he can beat out those balls is a big deal.
Yeah. Yes.
It's a big deal. How many ground ball double plays have the Yankees run into that have destroyed that runners in scoring position number that have been, the first 3 months of the season, it seemed like they were, running.
Judge was on pace to do like 50 of them after the first 6 weeks.
So now you have another guy who can bust it down the line, and a lefty who's already starting a step ahead. That's a big deal. And I think when you're looking at how this team has struggled in the past when they've gotten to the playoffs and what has been their Achilles heel, it's been offense. It's been creating offense. And he's a guy that can do that by himself.
The Yankees did make a couple of other moves. They got De Los Santos and Thomas Balboni Jr. From the Padres for Brandon Lockridge. Unlike Leiter, De Los Santos you're not looking at many underlying numbers that say he's going to be anything but another one of these flyer relief pitchers that they're hoping to get something out of. And if they don't, he'll probably be let go. And we already talked about Caleb Ferguson being sent to Houston. Yankees got a prospect, Kelly Austin, back from the from the Astros. I agree with you. Just trading with the Astros, it feels dirty. It's like, why are you doing it? Yeah. The AL East, though, in general, was very busy. The Rays traded away a bunch of guys. So Paredes was dealt, Arozarena was dealt, Eflin was dealt to the Orioles, which is a nice piece for their rotation. The Orioles also got Trevor Rogers, Eloy Jimenez, and Gregory Soto for their bullpen. I mean, the O's made a lot of moves. I don't know that any of them moved the needle a ton. But
I mean, they definitely improved their starting pitching with Eflin and Rogers. There's no doubt about it.
Eflin also has control, I believe, right? So this is also a future move for them.
They lengthened that rotation, and which is a big move for them because they can score runs. And come playoff time, who knows if they have an abundance of starting pitchers, guys coming back from injury, who they're putting into a bullpen at that point too. So and Eloy Jimenez is really a wild card. I mean, I know he's not having the greatest year, but who would have a great year in the Chicago right now? It's that if you're looking at an opportunity or a percentage chance where someone can get, you could get more out of someone by a change of scenery, go to Chicago, go to the White Sox and pick somebody from there because you can probably get better results than what they're doing in Chicago.
And also Houston got Kikuchi from the Blue Jays, which could be a nice rotation piece for them.
Yeah, that's one of their big weakness areas was their starting rotation, and they're starting to get healthy there. There's guys pitching better, and Kikuchi has pitched well against the Yankees, so don't love that.
The Red Sox got James Paxton. I believe we already talked about that because that happened a few days before the deadline. They also added some other relief pitchers because they were pretty thin in the bullpen. I don't know. I still think the Red Sox have a bit of a tough hill to climb to make the playoffs, but they've played above their ceiling seemingly all season. Anything else you want to touch on from the deadline? Because we still have to do some positives and negatives from the Philly series.
Yeah, there's a few things from the Philly series I definitely want to talk about because it was a fun series to watch. Again, I'm the Jazz move obviously just makes I think everything look a little different, and we'll see what happens with Leiter.
Before we get to the Phillies series, if you're going to be going to a Yankees game this weekend, we're going to be there on Saturday against the Blue Jays. You should be using Game Time. Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, meaning buying tickets to a baseball game on Game Time is faster and easier than ever. The app has so many great features. I love the flash deals because you can see what sections the best deals are in. This is especially good if you just want to go to the game, but you don't necessarily have, you haven't purchased a ticket ahead of time. You can just monitor where the deals are, and then you can just get in for a cheap price. The all-in pricing option lets you not get hit with surprise fees at checkout, so you can just see what it's going to cost you up front. And the seat view, so you can get real pictures that pan around all different views from inside the venue, so you can make sure you're getting what you want. The app is streamlined and it's easy to use. Also, if you're going to go with friends or family, sharing is very easy from the Game Time app. You can just share the tickets with other people. Game Time also has great tickets for concerts, comedy shows, theater, and much more, in addition to sporting events. The Game Time guarantee means you're always going to get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section in a row for less money, Game Time is going to credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code BRONX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Once again, create an account, redeem code BRONX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Real quick, but before we get into the rest of this series, something to keep an eye on, which I think is interesting, is you look at the AL West. Right now, it's Houston and Seattle that are tied for the division lead, and with Houston, I guess in the loss column, they have the edge right now, so they're in the standings as the division leader. But you go down to the wild card, and Seattle is 3.5 games back as well. So from the last wild card spot. So it looks like right now, they could definitely make a move into one of the wild card spots, no doubt, but it's going to be a dogfight in the AL West for that division, and that very well could be the only team that comes out of that division. And they definitely upgraded quite a bit, Seattle. So it's almost like Houston was really forced into those moves to keep up with what they're doing.
Yeah, so I remember we talked about this. I forget when we said this, like, would it make sense to move the deadline back a couple of weeks just to maybe you'd get more teams selling because they'd be out of the race? I'd be curious to see in, call it, middle of August where some of these teams are, because you had Kansas City going for it, you had Boston adding, you had Seattle adding. Really, it was below that line where the teams said, okay, we're not going to add at the deadline. But you didn't have some other teams like Texas, who is 8 games out of the wild card. They didn't sell. They didn't buy, but they didn't sell. They just sort of, I guess they're hoping, like, oh, maybe we'll catch fire in the second half. But in 2 weeks from now, if they're still 8 games out, maybe they would be more willing to sell. So
yeah, I mean, they're 5 games under 500 and 4.5 out of the division too. So it's like, I don't know what.
Right, they have a good week. They have a good week, and Houston, Seattle have a bad week. They're right there.
Yeah,
but
100%.
That's tough to bank on.
It is, but they're kind of dealing with house money when you win a World Series. So,
yeah. All right, the positives from the Philly series. We've talked about Chisholm a ton, but he is the number one positive. He's exciting. The two two-homer games. Also big to just give the Yankees the lead and get the Yankees back into games, like big moments. Fired up. You could see the entire dugout being fired up with him. I saw a clip of him having a fun interaction with the Philly fanatic. Like, just brings that sort of energy to the team.
He brings an energy, man. He does. He's electric. He does. And it looks like Judge is having a lot of fun playing with him. And I like that. It's every time he's up, Judge has this like shit-eating grin on his face when he's doing something. And he's like, oh, we got another dude. We got another dude that can come in and help out with some production after us. So it's a big move.
But honestly, the home runs, as great as they are, the fact that he played third base as well as he did and seemed comfortable, I don't know how else to put it than he just seemed comfortable there, is huge. That's huge for this team.
He just doesn't look like he's uncomfortable in many situations, to be honest. Like, he's got a lot of confidence, and everything that we've seen so far is that it does come naturally and easy to him, it seems like, as far as the confidence. He's not, again, we haven't seen him when he hasn't played well. So we'll find that out, when he goes through an over 15 or a 1 for 20 stretch, because it's bound to happen at some point. But yeah, all things are.
But do you know what he has going for him with Yankees fans is he is the selfless player who said, I'll go play third base. So even if he is in a 1 for 12 slump or 1 for 20 slump,
he's going to have some grace.
Yeah, he gets grace.
100%.
Whereas if he puts his foot down, no, I'm a second baseman and a center fielder, and he's in a 1 for 20 slump, it's, yo, dude, what the hell?
He's also new. He's also new and fresh, and like when that happens and you start off on the right foot, like you get, your leash becomes longer, and yeah, he's doing all the right things. So I'm excited for him. I'm excited to see. And you know what? We were talking about this in a group chat or a text or something, but it's been a while since a guy came over at the deadline and really just lit it on fire and just like was an absolute catalyst and just like tore it up for the Yankees. So maybe
that's an interesting question. Who's the last one to do that?
Yeah, it's been a minute, man. Like, offensively, who's come over and done and
because Rizzo and Gallo didn't tear it up when they came over. I mean,
no, but Rizzo was a nice addition.
Rizzo was a nice addition, but it's not like Rizzo went on a heater when he came over.
No. But so a guy like this, he could come over and you know, maybe a guy like Jazz Chisholm has been just longing for the spotlight, because it seems like none of this is going to bother him. New York's not going to bother him. That the makeup of him and his personality from what we've seen doesn't look like any of this is going to bother him. So maybe he's just primed for it. Maybe he wants that attention. And when some guys don't have that attention, when they're buried in Miami in a shitty team with nobody watching them, you know, maybe we're not seeing them at their best. When you infuse them into this lineup that has a bunch of good hitters, you're going to start seeing more pitches. He's going to start, the energy level is different. The feel of the Bronx is different. Maybe this is where he thrives. And I mean, we're going to find out, but it's the writing's on the wall for that a little bit.
You know who the last one might be? Another third baseman, Chase Headley. Didn't he have a really good second half with the Yankees when he first came over? I forget what season that was. That might have been 2014 or 20. I forget what year he came over, but I feel like he had a really good second half in his first season with the Yankees.
I don't remember what he did when he came over from the Padres, right?
And I remember in his first game ever, he pinch hit and got a walk-off single. Because he arrived to the stadium late, and so he didn't start, and then he pinch hit and hit a walk-off single. I remember that. And then he pretty much downhill ever from there on out, but
he was good.
Negative exit velo.
768 OPS in 58 games.
Okay, not that impressive. I don't. Everyone. I mean, David Justice sticks out in my mind, but that was.
You have to go back.
That's in 2000. He came over in the middle of 2000, and he was a freaking monster for the Yankees in the second half. But like, that's a long time ago.
It's a long time ago, man. So yeah.
So is Chisholm great. Is Chisholm your favorite number 13 to ever play third base for the Yankees?
Probably. Considering I was not an Alex Rodriguez fan.
5 games in and you're already ready to call it.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to be on this team for a couple of years, which is great. So he's get comfortable. Jazz. Who knows if he's going to be at third base next year? I mean, very well. I mean,
he'll probably be at second base next year because of the guy leaving, hopefully. All right, second positive. DJ LeMahieu showed life. Career high 6 RBIs, grand slam. So I also was not watching the game on Wednesday afternoon. I was at a work thing in the city, but I was getting updates on my phone. And when I tell you, when my phone said DJ LeMahieu grand slam, and I was like, there's a glitch. The app is broken. MLB app, someone needs to file something that says, hey, glitch, it's broken, fix this. I couldn't believe it. Because, man, did he look geriatric at the plate before that moment.
Yes. But again, all things pointing, and we've been saying this for a while, and he's been saying it, that he's healthy. He feels right. Like, why is this Father Time coming in and saying, you are now done? And he had life, man. And I got to tell you, again, I was listening to it, this game on the radio in real time. Ricky Ricardo going nuts for DJ.
How could you not?
It was great. It was absolutely great. It's 6 RBIs, highest RBI total that he's had in his career, which is
that's also surprising.
I hope it's a sign of things to come. Obviously, I don't think there's a guy that I'm rooting for harder to get back into the good graces and to get back his feeling, because I love DJ LeMahieu. I want him to be a part of this team very badly. And we talked about Verdugo, I think was it, when a couple of weeks back, when we're like, if Verdugo can get out of this hole that he's in, he becomes an X factor on how the team is operating. Lefty bat, going to be playing every day. If there's not a bigger X factor than DJ LeMahieu, former batting title guy twice, and if he's able to, I'm not going to get too overly excited, but the fact is,
it's one game.
I understand that, but he did do it against the Phillies, and he drove this team to a win. But if DJ LeMahieu comes back to form in some capacity, if it really is just rust that he just took a much longer time to get off, and that's why the Father Time piece, if it was just him shaking the rust, is taking longer. If he is, if he's back in a way for the Yankees, like, that is a massive addition.
Let me ask you this. So second half of 2023 last year, DJ LeMahieu in the second half in 257 plate appearances, hit 273 with a 377 on base, a 432 slugging. That's an 809 OPS. Those numbers look pretty good. If you look at it month by month, his August was awesome. He had an 898 OPS, then he came back down to earth in September with a 715 OPS, and he had a 696 OPS in July. So it was really a hot August that carried those numbers. But, okay, maybe 809 OPS is out of the question. Can you get a 735, 740 OPS from him? Maybe a hot stretch for the next 2 months? Let's say you can sign up for that. 270 batting average, 750 OPS. That's what you're going to get from DJ LeMahieu here on out. What I am doing is starting Chisholm at second base every day, and I am starting DJ LeMahieu at third base every day, and Gleyber Torres is playing once or twice a week.
Yeah, I got no problem with that. The other cog in that decision, though, is what Ben Rice is doing at first base, and or if Rizzo ever comes back to this team in some capacity. So first base is also a situation where he will be getting everyday numbers. And look, he had a botched play that could have been disastrous. That the ball flew into Glaber's glove, and he was able to throw it to Clay Holmes to get the out.
That was LeMahieu at first base.
That was LeMahieu at first base. Yes, it was LeMahieu at first base. But he is the better defender. It was a play that you don't see very often. And if he's putting up the numbers that you just mentioned, like Ben Rice is going to have a harder time getting playing time. But you're right. If Ben Rice is hitting or if hitting a little bit, and Gleyber continues on this path, because I know he got hot for a month, went 1 for 14.
He got hot for
3 weeks,
like
2 weeks,
2 series. Okay.
Fine. He got hot for a bit since the All-Star break. He's been playing much better offensively, except for this last Phillies series where he went 1 for 14, we say 1 for 15, something like that. So yes, there's nothing keeping him in the starting lineup if DJ LeMahieu is playing well.
Yeah, I agree. It's just one game for DJ. He also didn't he hit a home run against Tampa like a week and a half ago? And we're like, oh, maybe that's the catalyst. And then I think he didn't have any hits after that. So it's one game, but he had 2 extra base hits yesterday. So maybe it is a sign of good things to come. Number 3 positive is Will Warren making his major league debut in a spot start for Garrett Cole, who got pushed back because of the stomach virus situation.
And can we talk about that quickly? Like, let's hope it's just the stomach thing. Like, I know the body fatigue and all that. It was
weird that they said body fatigue and then like clarified, no, it's a stomach issue. Like, stomach
he's had stomach issues, but let me tell you, if he got what I got and what my whole family got, my body was dead, absolutely dead, and it was a stomach issue, and it destroyed my energy levels, and I was laying in bed for an entire day. Like, you couldn't do a damn thing when that thing.
You probably had the norovirus.
Whatever the hell I had, it could have been COVID also, because Kemp ended up having COVID. So
yeah,
one of these things, it absolutely affects how your body feels. But there was a quote saying something about after his last start, he said that his body just didn't bounce back like it normally does after the start. So I don't know if that has to do with him being sick and like they're just corresponding together, and that's all of the same thing, or physically he just didn't feel right after his last start, which is more concerning to me.
It could have hopefully just coincided with his last start. If he's saying my arm didn't bounce back, that's different than my body. Like, because like you said, if you're just feeling like lethargic, like sapped out of energy, that could be like a stomach issue that's affecting your whole body. You could have COVID, you could have something else that your energy levels are at a 0, and so my body didn't bounce back. Right. But if he's specifically saying, no, my arm didn't bounce back, that is a completely different story. But he didn't say that.
He didn't say that. In fact, I think there was a distinction saying like my elbow feels fine. It's not that. So anyway, sorry.
Will Warren, though, getting the spot start, he had, I guess they told him, what was it, the night before that he's going to be making the start, and so his family all come in. He gave up the 3-run home run, but I thought
that was it.
I thought he settled in, and that didn't let that 3-run home run completely ruin the game, because he gave them a bit of length, which allowed the Yankees to win the game, crucially.
Yeah. No, look, I was impressed. I think that his curveball looked really good. Like, he's got some good stuff. So that's another guy. Keep an eye out for him, because towards the end of the year, that's a guy that absolutely could come in and help this team on the pitching staff. Be a bullpen guy at some point. Like, no problem with that at the end of the year if we're bringing in arms and guys who can be effective, get strikeouts, and pitch effectively. So yeah, one start obviously, but you're right. The 3-run home run really was the only blemish. He did settle down. I think he ended up like 12 of 14, 12 of his last 14, something along those lines, where he finished the game off really strong and absolutely settled in. So encouraging for sure. He looks good.
All right, and the negatives from the Phillies series, the bullpen and Clay Holmes blowing another game. I know Cashman said bad luck for Clay Holmes. I still think he's an elite reliever. The problem is when your closer gives up contact, doesn't strike guys out, and also I just feel like he has not been able to throw his fastball for quality strikes, his sinker for quality strikes. Like you've seen him go to his sweeper, slider a lot more to get.
I don't think it's that good of a pitch either. Yeah.
But he's using that as I need to throw a strike here.
I know. And it's not as strong of a pitch. It's hittable for sure. That sinker, the quote sinker that to me is a 2-seam fastball. He needs to be that dominant pitch again. And like, that's a pitch where he can get swing and miss on. So unless he can get that back to really, really form it and have a lot of confidence in it so that he can throw it at any point. But you're right. That's the problem with him. The biggest problem with him right now is just location. He's not able to throw strikes when he needs to throw strikes, and quality strikes. I'm not talking about just throw the ball over the plate. Throw the ball where you want it to go. And that's his biggest thing right now. And
so it was
leading to adventure innings with him.
It was the Saturday game at Fenway where he pitched 2 innings and he looked nasty. His sweeper was unhittable, but even in that game, he wasn't throwing his sinker for strikes. He was using his sweeper as the I need to throw a strike here pitch.
And he just leaves that pitch over the plate too much.
But I just think Boston wasn't sitting on that. Like they're not expecting that. So you saw fooled hitters in that instance. And that's not going to last. If teams start to pick up, oh, this guy's going to his slider because he can't throw his sinker for a strike, sit on slider, it's going to be thigh high in the middle of the plate. That thing's going to get crushed.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's all him. With many pitchers, it's fastball command, and for him specifically, that 2-seam sinker command. If he's able to throw that effectively and work off of that, he's as nasty as anybody. Brian Cashman's not wrong but he's got to prove that he can throw that thing for strikes and consistently do it.
Right, and so I don't know if you're going to see Leiter get some of the. I don't think Holmes is getting pulled from the closer role either. But is there a world in which he blows 3 more games over the next 3 weeks and then they pull him? Because what was it? Since June 1st, he's blown 7 games. Yeah, that's not. Yeah. In 2 months, we've pulled 7 games.
The amount of base runners that he's led on is crazy too. It's like there's a ton of traffic on the base path when he's pitching.
The Yankees would be in first place by 3 games if he only blew half of those.
Look, if Leiter keeps going the way if is the guy and is proving that he can get out of innings and be clean and get those strikeouts, then yeah, there's going to be a decision to be made. Like I don't think there's going to be any announcement that Clay Holmes is pulled from the closer spot. But you got guys like Leiter who are able to get that swing and miss. Jake Cousins also, like I mentioned him last, has looked very good. He's a guy that can get that swing and miss as well. He's impressed me. So there are some guys that are hopefully going to at least drive some competition and give Boone another option. And there's again, some of these, if one of those guys from the minor leagues comes back and is an effective reliever, then it could be a different spot.
And the other negative from the Phillies series is Gleyber. We talked about 1 for 14 in the series, but just his defense wasn't great again on the double play that was hit to Chisholm. He fed him right in the chest, and Gleyber double clutches. I know the announcers were talking about how Schwarber kind of kicked his leg out when he slid, but it was just a double clutch by Gleyber, and they weren't able to turn the double play.
Absolutely, Schwarber. It was more about Gleyber not putting himself in a better position, understanding that Schwarber's barreling down on him. He's got to know that. He's got to feel that, and be able to get around him or jump over him or do whatever he needs to do to make an effective throw, because timing on that throw was imperative. You had to make the throw. So he missed a couple of plays in the field as well. One yesterday that they gave the Phillies a hit on that he should have made. He's just looking shaky over there. You know,
And
and when
it's
you're deeming
worse.
yourself as a second baseman,
Yes,
you better play
yes.
goddamn second base.
When the new guy is just being like, yeah, give me the glove. I'm going to go play the hot corner. And you're sitting there being like, I'm a second baseman and you suck. It's just like, dude, have some self-awareness.
Yeah.
Play better.
And
really
the other
bad.
one, real quick on the back to the bullpen for 1 second. The other guy who I still have a lot of confidence in, who I think looks still really good and will be an effective guy, is Luke Weaver, who can get the strikeout. Has had a good year. He's had some blips, but who doesn't? I think that he's a very effective reliever, and the Yankees hit on him. Like, they've been right with him so far. And I don't feel bad when he comes into the game. I feel like that I have confidence as a fan. When he comes in the game, I have confidence when he walks in. So it's another guy that I think that they can rely on towards the end of the game.
All right. Anything else you want to touch on?
I just hope DJ LeMahieu is back, man. Like, more than anything, I want.
I'm definitely wearing my LeMahieu shirt now for Saturday.
Okay, good.
I just needed the one game.
Just the one game, just to get me back in. Yeah, this lineup is very different with DJ LeMahieu hitting with the numbers that you mentioned or better. Like, you put him in that 9 spot, now he's another leadoff guy who can turn it over. Or shit, if he continues to hit, like, you could slide him into the leadoff spot if he's that guy. I know we're not even close to that right now, but maybe we're not that far off either, because when Gleyber is the right-handed option at leadoff, if DJ has another game or two where he looks good, Boone's going to throw him in there.
If Dominguez comes back in a couple weeks, could you see them leading him off? Switch hitter?
I don't know. Cashman had some interesting quotes about him too. Is basically like he's going to be in AAA. They're going to see what happens. It feels like one of those things where he's got to break down the door and make it undeniable for him to come up. I think it's going to be one of those situations, especially if Verdugo's back to hitting in a productive way, which he has been, and we all know what he is with the glove. He's a very good glove out there. So I don't think it's the path is as clear for Dominguez anytime soon, unless he's breaking the door down, destroying AAA.
You know what else annoyed me from the week? So Stanton comes back, DHs Monday, sits on Tuesday. If that was going to be the plan to get him a day at DH, then sit him.
I think that was the plan. They talked about that. Yeah.
Why'd you wait until Monday then? Like, why couldn't he have played a game over the weekend in Fenway? I mean, what are we doing here? He can take 4 at bats on Monday and then can't play on Tuesday. Like, really, guys?
They're treating him with kid gloves. It's fine. You have to almost with him at this point. He's different.
I just think whether you treat him with kid gloves or with no gloves, he gets hurt. So like, it's just.
But he was also you gave him that day. It's also he hasn't played in a game. Like, this is a rehab assignment for him essentially too. So you got to give him that rest. And they decided to give him that clean week with going into Philadelphia.
So he played Monday, Wednesday, and he's going to have Tuesday, Thursday off. I get
exactly, because the days off are line up where he's going to get extra rest. Essentially, I think that's why they're doing it this way.
And
he came out and was hitting. He hit yesterday. He hit.
They're probably taking a. You think they probably didn't fly back, right? They probably took a bus.
Yeah, I would assume.
Took the team bus back.
Mm-hmm. It's a short trip.
Not with traffic from Philly to New York at 4:00 on a Wednesday afternoon. It takes 6 hours.
It's probably easier than going to the airport, doing all that, going to the.
Maybe they took a
train.
train.
Back and forth.
They could have taken a train. Back in the old days, DiMaggio.
Just rent out
riding the train.
Rent out a couple cars.
Yeah. Back in the days, they used to make the rookies sleep over the wheels because it was more uncomfortable. The veterans got the middle of the train cars. All right, that's gonna wrap up today's episode. So next week, gonna have some fill-in hosts for me.
Yep, you're out.
I'm out.
You're
unless something crazy happens, then I'll join.
Okay. Yeah, you'll have gear in hand. But yeah, I'm gonna find some faces to join me on here.
Okay. Do you know who yet?
I don't know yet. I got some people in mind.
Right.
Maybe some people that we've never had on the show before. We'll see.
Alrighty. Looking forward to it. We'll talk. Well, Scott and mystery guests, we'll talk to you then.